right, welcome back to the Shrink Wrap Show. Again, I am your host, John, and I'm here with Pam Kaufman and Talia Peak. And today we are talking about therapy styles and how to choose a therapist. Welcome to the Therapist Dating Show. So,
right.
Yeah.
Behind table number one.
All right.
Chart number one.
To start out, I have a few statistics again. Okay.
Good. Go.
So, only about 1 in 4 U.S. adults received therapy in the last year, which I'm assuming is probably every year. That seems high to me, actually.
1 in 4.
1 in 4.
1 in 4.
Huh.
I was surprised by that. It could be wrong. ChatGPT could be wrong. It says at the bottom of the page, ChatGPT makes mistakes.
I mean, according to what statistics you look at, we know that about 1 in 4 or 2 in 4, depending on what population, is depressed or anxious.
Right.
So it sounds about right, I guess, given that not everybody gets into therapy in the traditional sense.
Yeah, I just think there's so many barriers. There could be money, there's stigmas, there's all sorts of things.
The stigma's better than it used to be, John.
Well, or just even, peer you grab like therapies for wimps or whatever your own personal
but what I mean
stigma
is,
could
I
be.
think we really need to give an applause to how therapy has been destigmatized over the years. When I was looking for a therapist in my mid-30s, which was about 10 years ago, you guys, I struggled telling anybody about it.
Yeah.
And then I kept it to myself, and then I didn't know where to look. And of course, there were telephone books back then that you guys probably never even seen.
I've used them.
Whatever. And it was all a secret.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then talk about it.
Well, even as a therapist, looking for a therapist, that's scary.
That is a mess.
Yeah.
Where can I go and tell my stuff
Yeah.
and it won't come back and bite me in the butt?
Right.
So I've got to go to Kentucky.
Right.
Wow. Okay, I've never thought about that because I would wonder if you're just secretly judging how good or bad a job they're doing.
That happens too.
Well, that's what I feared. Like going to a therapist, I was afraid that if I told them that I was a therapist, would they judge me as a therapist, or would they be thinking that I'm analyzing their therapy?
Okay. Well, I love this that even therapists have their insecurities about therapy and have a journey to find the right therapist. Okay.
Well, listen, let me say this too. At church, this can be the worst. What do you do if you're working at church, teaching at church, and you need a therapist, but you're supposed to be the person that has it all together?
Right.
And you don't want them to not believe in you anymore, not trust you anymore. Mm-hmm. So I can't let them know that. Again, I'm going to Kentucky.
This is a whole other topic because whether it's just a leadership principle or it's philosophy about church and, whether your church should be a job or not be a job. But, man, I would assume that a pastor's not the person who's supposed to have it all together, but the person who's just further down the road, right?
Yeah.
And they're displaying like, this is how I go to God, even though when I don't have it all together. None of us have it together, and I'm teaching you how in your mess to get to God and not, sitting above you and patting you on the head.
I've got it all.
Like, there, and here's how I, Anyway, so it's just philosophical. Like, it's just, it doesn't make sense that it would be a stigma for pastors or ministry people to not. It just to me it seems so connected, but
you would think, yeah,
you would think, but
it really isn't. I think people assume, well, she's a psychologist, she has it together. So finding out that I don't can lower credibility, can lower believability. Do I want to go to somebody who's equally messed up? And in recent years, we've gotten much better at saying, "Hey, we're all in this mess. Yeah. No, none of us have it together. We all have some imposter syndrome,
right?"
But there's still a thing of, I probably need to present well, like I've got my stuff going on.
Yeah. I would like to bring this back into when I was looking for a therapist for me, I wanted someone that was similar to me in some aspects. Like
the relatability.
Their story or their testimony. I wanted to know that they have been through stuff and wasn't going to be afraid of my stuff, if that made sense. And
so they can contain it for you.
So they can contain it for me. And so
how'd you go about that?
Yeah, I mean, I tried out a couple therapists, and what I realized, the first therapist I went to, I felt like I was an imposter. Like, I did not tell the therapist that I was a therapist. I was going to just go in there and share me, but I felt like I couldn't show up as me.
Mm-hmm. And it happens a lot.
I felt so disconnected from my therapist, and it was my fault because I wasn't showing up as me. And so I don't blame the therapist at all for that, because I truly believe if I showed up, she probably would have done great work with me.
The other side of that coin, Talia, is you did show up, and they can't. They don't have the capacity.
Yeah, that's true.
So you also, in a sense, can't fully show up, and that can feel like, as I walk out the door and having paid, I feel emptier than when I got there in the first place.
Yeah. And so the next therapist I went to, I mean, I searched up EMDR therapists, like all the different buzzwords for trauma therapy. And I found one, and I was like, this is the one. Went in, did the intake, had 2 or 3 sessions with them, and I was like, this is it. This is the one. However, our schedules were off. I needed someone in the afternoon. They didn't work in the afternoon. So that's also a barrier when it comes to finding a therapist. It's schedule, it's resources, it's time, it's money, all of it. There's a lot of things that go into it, but I know good work would have come out of both of those therapists if I showed up authentically. And I did for the second therapist. And even though I only saw her about 5 or 6 times, I felt like I got more out of that 5 or 6 sessions than I did with the 10 that I had with the other one.
Well, I think you touched on something else that's so important, and that is, how do I even know the terms? How do you know what EMDR is?
Right.
Does everybody know it's eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, and that it helps? It's a trauma-focused therapeutic treatment modality? They don't.
Yeah.
So how do I even look? What are the words to look for? And what are the words that are me? I don't even know what I have wrong with me.
Right.
I might know if I have depression, or I might know if I'm anxious, but I may not know at all. I have some emotional wounds, some trauma from childhood. I have an attachment rupture. And the looking for someone, people will come in and say, "Oh, I saw your website, and it just seemed like a really good fit." And I'll say, "Well, what touched you? What made it? I don't know. It just felt warm, or it just felt like, well, I'm from California too, or something, just a point of connection." But this can be I go in and I try. I go to another person and I try. I go to another, and then I just F it.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this anymore. I'm exhausted and broke.
I'll just go to AI.
What does that mean?
F it?
Okay. All right. So before we go any further,
who the audience was, but
before we go any further, I have a couple more things here. One statistic is that about 1 in 5 people drop out of therapy early, often after just 1 to 3 sessions.
Yep.
Research suggests it's a poor fit and unclear expectations. So, speaking of the fit, studies also show that the therapeutic relationship, or the fit, accounts for more outcome success than the specific technique used.
That's what I was saying
100%.
before. All of the research, it's not the technique. It's not even the years of training. It's not all of the coursework, all of the specializations, all of the anything. It's about, do you see me?
Yes.
Do you hear me? Can you relate to me? And we don't actually need as a therapist to get them. They just have to think we do. So why do people drop out?
Tricky.
She just told her
we just
secret.
we have to be deceptive. No.
I'm thinking of like, you know, the old TV shows where someone is like, they're sleeping, but they have the glasses on that look like they're awake.
Yeah, yeah.
That's right.
This is you in pilot mode. Or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people drop out because, that wasn't what I was looking for. Or I went to multiple people before I found my amazing Denise. And Denise, if you ever listen to this, I love you. You saved my life. But you know, you don't know. You don't know sometimes till you get there. You can do a little intake question thing on the phone or whatever, but it's not going to give you enough information. Yeah. So that didn't work. One and done. They also drop out, John, because, oops, this is going to be work. This is hard. I'm going to have to feel hard feelings that I've never felt before. Mm-hmm. And either I'm not ready for that, or I'm not sure, as you were saying, I'm not sure this person can handle that.
Yeah.
It may take multiple sessions before the person really gets to the point where they trust a therapist enough to give the real deal.
Yep.
As you were alluding to that before, as your real story or your real, I don't know what you called it, John, but so clients will come in and they'll test you.
Yeah.
Multiple times. And you kind of know they're testing and you kind of not. And you may think, we're working on the issue. But I've been doing this a long time. So I'm like, I don't think we really got to the real thing yet. Mm-hmm. So I might ask or I might wait depending on the person. But they'll, once they feel confident enough. So I want to talk to you about that I was molested by my uncle when I was 5 through 8. Once they feel, you can hold that for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That, and do you remind me of somebody in my life that hurt me? Mm-hmm. That's a big one. If I go in and I see a client that's not really saying very much to me, it's probably because I remind them of somebody.
For me, just my own personal junk is, well, okay, we're going to get into a therapy session now, but
hey, you got 2 for.
But I think if I had to fit anywhere in what I understand of the dysfunctional family roles, I was probably what is called the lost child. Mm-hmm. Not feeling seen, not feeling like my voice mattered or that I mattered, that I was worth showing up for, which produced a lot of isolation, a lot of loneliness, and a lot of self-awareness, but never feeling like anyone else was aware or connected or cared about me. And so that felt like, that still to this day feels like a hurdle to try to know that I'm seen, or if someone gives me a compliment, I'm like, do they really mean that? Or are they just...
Do they need something from me? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I'm projecting my
skepticism.
My skepticism on them. And so I can do that in counseling relationships or mentor relationships or anything like that. I can project my judgment onto them that they're not good enough. My loneliness or my letdowns in life can turn into judgment, whether it's I don't know. I'm not a therapist, you guys are. I don't know if it's a protection thing, but basically I'll just have high standards and I'll just judge the crap out of people and be like, well, this person, they would never understand because no one's ever understood anyways, right?
Yeah.
And so
it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right. So I tell myself, maybe it's like I've been so isolated or insulated that I just believe that since no one's understood me before, no one can understand me. And then I'm like, well, look how different we are. You know, like you have this version of life and these interests, and I'm not even anything like you. So I'll just write people off very quickly, and it'll be really hard for me to. I can open up and talk about my things, but secretly I won't be respecting their advice.
That happens.
I see that.
Mm-hmm. And listen, we all kind of do that to a certain extent. Mm-hmm. We make a judgment that, you're not like me. You won't get me.
Yeah.
We don't have anything in common. And then you end up finding out just because someone's different ethnically, age-wise, whatever it might be, we have more in common than we have that's different.
Yeah.
And that part is one of the jobs we have as a therapist, and someone looking for a therapist needs to find someone they do feel they can connect with. And one of our jobs is to make that happen, right? So if I'm meeting with a teenager, I'm going to talk like they talk. We're going to be light. We're going to play a game. We're going to, right?
Are you talking about brain rot? Like all the terms
yeah.
that skibbity, riz, and...
Skibbity riz.
Yeah, I have to keep up on that with my son's dog.
That's Sigma.
My son's dog. My granddaughter is all into all of that. But it's changed. That's not cool anymore. It
Yeah, it's
changes
changed.
fast. You got to stay in
I
with
won't
the
try
thing.
then.
But if I'm meeting with a business person, I'm going to use those kinds of metaphors. I'm going to be a little more polished. I'm going to but I'm watching, I'm waiting, I'm gathering information. I'm curious. There's that word again about what are they about? What's their makeup? What do they talk like? What's important to them? So I can pick up and use word pictures that they have given me. Clients give us all the cues we need.
Yes, they do.
If we can learn to pull them in. And so, but yeah, we have a big job on our end to communicate to them. I see you, I hear you, I accept you. You can say anything to me. And in fact, I need you to, because I'm missing a part of the deal. Oh, and I understand that it might take you some time to believe that I will accept you and I do see you and that I'm capable of helping you.
Yeah. All right. So what might some expectations be for someone going into therapy where, and they're trying to find the right therapist? They might be finding someone that they want to feel the warm fuzzies with or connect with, or they might be wanting someone who's going to challenge them, and they won't respect them unless they're challenging them. How do you work through that? And what advice do you have for people who are...
Everybody knows what they need. Like, I know whenever I was under supervision, I needed someone to be very direct with me. Because if I wanted to learn my job and do my skill well, I needed someone to be direct and correct me in a soft way.
Yeah,
but
kindly.
not be too soft on me, because that's how I learn. In therapy, I'm also that way. If I want someone to call out that BS. If I'm like showing up, I'm high on my horse, I'm happy and everything. I want my therapist to be like, okay, what's really going on?
So trust your instincts.
Yes.
I think it's important to recognize that people come into therapy for very different reasons. Some people absolutely just need a little bit of the warm fuzzies.
Yeah.
They're making a transition in life. They've had some hard things. They've lost their job maybe, or they just feel a little bit lost. They're doing a transition into another phase in life, and they're just feeling like they need to connect somewhere. Other people need kind of an overhaul.
Yep.
I mean, they're really going through it, and something has triggered all kinds of other things to come up, and they're going to need a little bit more proactive. But there are different forms of therapy. There's directive therapy and there's non-directive therapy. And, you know, I had a therapist at one point, and I wasn't a therapist at the time. So I'm like, what are you doing? I said to her, because she's like, oh, that sounds really hard. That must have been. How'd you feel about that? I'm like, I don't know. I need you to tell me why I act the way I do. This is not helpful. I told her.
Yeah.
Well, I realize now that is a non-directive
Humanistic,
or
yeah.
humanistic therapist. But who knows that stuff? So it's an interchange. It's an exchange of information to find out what is this person needing and wanting from me, and maybe it's some questions too.
Yep.
Do you want some pushback on that, or do you just need a place to tell all your
Yeah.
stuff? And I might know that without asking at this point.
Have you seen that video? It's not about the nail.
Yes.
That's my favorite video. I love showing people that. And I ask my husband whenever I have something going on, I usually say, I don't need you to fix it. I just need you to listen. And that when you said that, that's what I thought of. I was like, I don't need you to fix it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have ever watched Parks and Rec. Have you ever seen
Oh,
Parks?
yes.
That's my daughter's favorite show.
Okay. Chris Traeger is this character on there that's extremely positive, like positive thinking to the max. And it reminds me of ChatGPT, who's completely confirmation biased bot. And he's dating someone and she's pregnant and everything's horrible. And he's just constantly trying to, make her feel better. And eventually a friend tells him, it's like, you just need to learn the 2 magic words. That sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he starts showing up for her just, that sucks. And she's like, appreciates it then. But
That's so helpful.
Yeah.
I probably say that more than in some version. That's really hard. That is really hard. You've been through a lot. Wow.
All right. So for someone who is like curious about therapy, obviously they can have one session and he just asks the therapist, what kind of therapy do I need? They could do that. But let's talk about the types of therapy. So I have a list here. Maybe you guys want to start, but I have questions because I honestly don't know anything. Okay, so
Let's go through your list.
Cognitive behavioral therapy.
Both of us are cognitive behavioral therapists. It's one of what we do, and it means that what you think determines your beliefs, how you'll feel, and how you'll behave. And so a cognitive behavioral therapist is working on changing distorted thoughts, negative cognitions, and shifting them to more accurate ways of thinking and more positive thoughts. Under the belief that, the theory that, and actually the evidential-based data that says, no, when you change what you think, your feelings and your emotions will follow and your behaviors will change, and it'll start to build a positive loop.
That's interesting. Okay, so when I hear that, I think our last episode, we talked about ChatGPT or AI being your therapist, and it's all information. And there's this missing piece of relationship. And when I hear that, it feels a little bit like that. Is it like that where it's, hey, you have to basically do this work of changing the information in your head, and then your mood, your feelings, your problems will all adjust? Is there a missing piece in here, though?
Your problems may not change. The out here may not change. The way you think about it, the way your perspective about it changes, and that can change everything.
Now, is it all in the context still of a relationship?
Still in the context of a relationship.
Because I've had those moments where it's like, it feels like an aha moment where it's like, I'm thinking about this all wrong. I need to not be so hard on myself. I'm deep in whatever. And it's not like my emotions change in a moment. My thoughts change in that effect. But it didn't feel like, sometimes it's work and sometimes it's a moment. But it probably all happens in the context of a therapeutic relationship.
Well, we're working on looking at black and white thinking. Ooh, that's kind of, is there another option? Or, fortune telling, like you were sharing before. This isn't going to work out with this person either because it didn't work out with the other people. So I mind read and I fortune tell. Yeah. And I'm looking at how I minimize or maximize or personalize.
Right.
All of those kinds of ways of thinking.
Connecting the cognition to the behavior is what's different with the AI. So the behavior piece is what brings that connection piece. So if I'm thinking a certain way and I'm believing that belief and I feel that way and I act this way, that consequence, whether it's positive or negative, affects the relationship.
Okay. So it sounds like a strength in this is someone to be able to see your blind spots that you can't see.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I'm recognizing, what is the way I think? I have some really negative ways of thinking. I have some very polarized ways of thinking, and beginning to notice, I've just said always and never 2,000 times, right? And I just said it's never going to work out, right? Or I just said that he's bad and I'm good, and they begin to notice and shift the words they're using, and the words, because they take shape in the brain, neuroplasticity is going to begin to do some change work in there, and they'll begin to be able to.
That's helpful. You can give more grace to people. You can possibly open up and believe the best, or be like, maybe I have something to gain from this person, or maybe it can break down walls in your marriage or relationship.
Well, and grace to yourself more than anything else.
Okay, next is psychodynamic / insight oriented therapy.
Okay, T.
Big words.
Psychodynamic. Usually, when I hear psychodynamic, I think of I'm going to the therapist's office every single day, and it's long-term work. And I wasn't a fan of psychodynamic theory whenever I was doing it. But I do think that there's good work into it. This isn't with Freud, is it?
No, that's psychoanalysis.
Psychoanalysis, okay.
So psychodynamic, there's going to be a dynamism. There's going to be movement in the therapy. And so I think that we're talking about things like using experiential, psychodrama maybe would be in there, those kinds of things in therapy.
Yeah.
That it's moving.
All right. A lot of big words. What does this all mean? Like,
what does psychodynamic mean?
Right here, this definition I have is the focus is patterns, childhood, unconscious influences.
Mm-hmm.
See, I was thinking unconscious.
Yeah.
That's why I was
so
thinking
this
Freud.
Is that tells me the focus, but what is the course of action or the
in other words,
method?
what's happening in the therapy session?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm looking at a genogram. I'm looking at
patterns of
behavior, relational information, what kinds of toxic type things were going on, what kinds of emotional cutoff there were. So it's going to go back and go to childhood and look at patterns over time, wounds, hurts, as I said, emotional cutoffs, addictions.
I do like a good genogram. You can really tell how dysfunctional
you gotta always,
a family is.
What do you do with that information then? Is it like, where does I don't know, what's the mechanism for growth or healing?
Well, almost all of us in therapy, I shouldn't say almost all of us, many clinicians start with a genogram.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be looking at grandparents, your parents, your children, and I'm looking for patterns. How am I using that? I'm not going to hold it up and say, I noticed that on pattern, circle two. But like Talia said, as I'm looking at this, I can see, holy cow, you're one of 12 children. There's 3 step-parents involved. Your grandparents passed when you were, young. Mom and dad divorced when you were this age. You're a twin.
So this puts everything into perspective.
Yeah.
Helps
It's
you
like
organize
a
thoughts.
glorified family tree.
It's a glorified family tree map of the person's history.
I do find that so helpful.
It is helpful.
Especially when it comes to what's the person's personal beliefs. Are they in a line of work that is similar to their grandparents or addictions is also, you can see that kind of pattern transferred from one generation to another. Just relational patterns are really shown in those genograms.
I often will have a person along the lines of that do a life chronology.
Yes.
Moments in time, starting from birth, moving forward to present. What was a significant moment for you? What happened? What did you feel? And how old were you? And so again, we're just looking for tracing patterns to try to get to the point of why are you where you are now? Why do you keep marrying people who aren't available?
Yeah.
Or why are you so depressed? Or, why do you cut off all your relationships before they even get a chance to be built? What's the trust
This sounds like
breakdown?
it's a technique, not like what I find a therapist that is a psychodynamic therapist, and that's all they do. Is that?
Yes, there are.
Or is it just a technique that different types of therapists?
That's a great question.
That is a good question.
So there are purists. There are therapists who are only CBT therapists, only
Narrative therapy. Only psychodynamic. Those are modalities, and within those modalities and theories is techniques. So a genogram is a technique that you could use in psychodynamic, but you can also use it in trauma-focused CBT and other different.
Okay.
So most of us have a whole bunch of things we pull in and we use a lot from the different treatment modalities.
I would say
we're not
eclectic.
purists. We're eclectic. Yeah, we're integrative.
Integrative, yeah.
Because really, at the end of the day, the more tools I have in my toolkit, the more I can pull out if I need them. I got to get a hammer real quick, not to hammer somebody on the head, but.
But again, at the beginning, it said that the most important thing is the fit, not the style or the technique. So I guess we're just talking about some of the tools that might come out of the toolbox.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one is EMDR/trauma therapy.
So EMDR and brain spotting are two.
That sounds so made up, by the way.
It does.
It sounds like
is.
Eternal
It's like
Sunshine of the
hypnosis.
Spotless Mind kind of stuff.
Brain spotting. Okay, quick definition. So these are trauma-focused treatment modalities that help a person process traumatic material. EMDR is going to do it using bilateral stimulation, which has been shown to process trauma. Brain spotting is going to do it by connecting a spot, an ocular spot, a literal spot out there that I'm looking at that is connected to my limbic system.
Okay. Lots of undefined things here. But bilateral stimulation, the only thing I know about that is like, it's the same as like when you go for a walk.
Yes.
And your eyes are moving all over, and somehow that does something for your mental health.
Yes.
EMDR is doing it differently because we're attaching the bilateral stimulation to a negative cognition, an image, a feeling you had about that event, a unit of distress. How disturbing was it for you, and where do you feel it in your body?
Now, is this like what they show in like old horror movies where like the person's strapped to the chair and their eyes are like taped open?
No.
No, that would be terrible.
No.
No, EMDR
Or
uses.
hypnosis.
I have tappers. They're tappers. They just butt.
Is it-
Yeah.
is this like
EMDR
Scientology?
clinicians use a visual field that moves back and forth, and they can look at that, and also an auditory. You can be listening to bilateral music.
Brain floss.
So
what I call it.
I use several of these things depending on what the client needs or what they have, what they like.
Yeah.
Some people are like, I don't want to look at anything that's making me dizzy, or that is too loud, or whatever. So we modify what we need to use.
In a very short layman's terms, like this is this like where some if I'm doing acupuncture and some part on my ankle is connected to this part of my spine, and it somehow like there's just parts of your body that are actually intertwined with.
I held the pain, the
your
memory
trauma.
somewhere. Yeah.
The body keeps
the
its score.
feeling I have about that is a certain feeling. So, John, let's say you had an incident where you were bullied in 6th grade.
How did you know about that?
Oh, I mean, many of us have those. I had one. And the memory, the image that comes up when I think about that is that boy throwing a ball at me, hitting me, everyone's laughing. Mm-hmm. So I'll have the client bring up that image. What's the emotion you have connected to that? Where do you feel that in your body? Mm-hmm. And what's the negative thought you have about yourself? And then we do the bilateral stimulation, and more information comes up that the brain recorded, but it doesn't bring up as fresh as it does the image of the boy and the laughing.
It sounds, I feel like it can sound one of two ways. That can sound extremely powerful.
Very powerful.
Or it can sound extremely silly. Like someone who is just hearing that for the first time is like, that's hocus pocus.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking? Like,
well, you know what? It used to be when I'd bring out the tappers and I'd talk about, we're just going to do bilateral stimulation. People would be like, oh, whatever. That doesn't happen anymore. People come in, they know about it.
Yeah.
They've heard it works. Brain spotting's newer, so it has a little bit more. But I'm telling you what I'm finding in therapy these days is there's a desperation. And desperation does a thing. It pulls someone into a new place because where they are is more painful than the fear of going where they're not.
right.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing people come in and I'm like, you want to try something different? Yeah. And it used to be, no, thank you. You know,
So, long story short, what is the goal of EMDR therapy? Is it that you no longer have?
I'm not disturbed by that trauma anymore.
Okay.
It's almost like it's in the ocean far away, and my mask got really foggy.
And will you start to notice, like,
and I might have
I don't get these triggers anymore. Like when someone does this,
exactly.
I don't have these anxiety.
And I might have it,
attacks.
but it's tiny, tiny trigger instead of big capital T trigger.
Yeah.
Okay.
And most importantly, not most, equally important, I have a different cognition associated with that memory.
Okay.
I am an okay person. I can protect myself now. I can be safe now. I'm a good person.
So this isn't beginner's therapy. This takes some self-awareness with your story.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next is family systems therapy.
Well, before we get there, because there's another one that is similar to EMDR and brain spotting. It's called neurofeedback. And it is using stimuli like light and sound to help create new neural pathways for healing. And I find it actually, I would say it's more effective.
Really?
Yes.
Is it from personal experience or study?
Personal experience and study. What I noticed.
But you don't do EMDR or brain spotting.
I don't do EMDR.
But you have had them done on yourself?
I have had them done on myself. And
Okay.
I will say neurofeedback has been more beneficial for me personally. And what I've seen with certain individuals that have trouble with the bilateral stimuli, they do better with a visual stimuli or a sound.
Tactile? Or
Audio.
Audio.
Yeah. And what I do know, and I truly believe this, the brain, the men have
corpus callosum?
a thicker corpus callosum. And so it can be difficult for you to go from your logical side of your brain to your creative side of the brain
Emotional, yeah.
or your emotional
Yeah.
side of the brain. And so neurofeedback is one of those ways to bridge that so you can connect to both sides. And that's where you're able to process those traumatic experiences and learn how to reduce that anxiety that you have, or if you have depression, you can lift that depression with we call it window of tolerance, like just being able to get you back into that window of tolerance of being able to tolerate the outside stimuli triggers.
Right.
I think the most important part for the listener to understand about EMDR, brain spotting, neurofeedback, any trauma-focused treatment modality is because our trauma gets stored in a part of the brain that doesn't have words. It bypasses talking about it.
Yes.
It gets to it through the back door.
Yes.
And it tends to work faster than talking.
Yeah.
Now, it gives words to it, but it connects with the feeling. And
Well,
the
I've also
emotion.
heard that, like your eyes, I don't know all this stuff, but I've heard something like your, what is it, your prefrontal cortex or whatever is the fight, flight,
Limbic system.
Limbic system. So your emotions, like what you see happening in front of you has to go through that before you can even rationalize. So is that right?
Well, this is why my ocular system is so critical. And what David Grand discovered was that data had to come in and it got stored. And so by finding that spot,
So
I can
often,
get to
like
the trauma.
trauma can happen so quickly because you're not processing what's going on.
Right.
Your
Right.
body's feeling it, and therefore it would make sense that coming in through the back door. It's like if it started in a way that you couldn't even process.
correct,
Maybe
Yeah.
you can, exit in a way that
correct.
Yeah.
you don't understand either.
Yeah.
So it's not just the visual that happens, smelling, like when you smell burning things, does it trigger a certain memory for you? When you feel certain things,
Yeah.
Interesting.
it's fascinating work. Trauma therapy is my favorite.
Well, here's a question about all that. Sorry, Pam.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
It's really quick. It really was along the lines of what you were talking about before, and that is how do people heal? What works? What doesn't work? And I think what Talia said is so important that for a person, Neurofeedback is the shtick. For somebody else, EMDR really did it combined with CBT.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
For someone else, it was the telling of their story and then the using the EMDR to process the trauma moments in it, and then the just learning how to use, I don't know, some breathing techniques when they are triggered. It's a combination. It's a not one size fits all thing.
Right.
It's such a therapy is a science, but it's more an art.
Makes sense.
And every person is different. What they need.
Every person is different. This is not a field that you get bored in.
No.
No two people are like, and they are complex.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, also on the list, before we go anywhere, there is a few more. Narrative therapy.
Yeah, she's
One more you mentioned earlier. Experiential. And
Creative
Person-centered.
arts, person-centered.
so there's a few more that we probably can't touch on today. Well, out of one of those, do you want to touch on any of them?
I'd like to talk about narrative therapy.
I like narrative.
I like narrative. So narrative therapy is taking your story and what stories that you've told yourself and rewriting your story. I find that really cathartic and helpful for I've seen a lot of men actually do really well with narrative therapy.
I use narrative therapy quite a bit when I'm trying to destigmatize, deproblematize the person. Yeah. And so it has a part of it that externalizes the problem. So I'll use it a lot with eating disorders, for example. And I'll say, man, Ed, eating disorder, is really messing you up. We need to write a breakup letter to Ed.
Yeah.
And so Ed's the problem, not you.
Right.
Narrative therapy also has that beautiful, you're sharing the story, you're getting letters in from people telling you something in contradiction to what you think is true of yourself. It's talking about looking for sparkling moments, the exceptions.
Yes.
It's beautiful. It's got a lot of different techniques that are usable in a lot of different aspects.
Essentially, it feels like all these styles can be so kind of interwoven.
Yeah, and I think that part of the art of being a therapist is, ooh, I'm going to try that. I think that might be helpful right now. And let's go back to what are those, black and white thinking. There it is.
Yeah.
So oftentimes in with a client, I'll be using lots and lots of different interventions, modalities.
Person-centered. And person-centered is the unconditional positive regard, genuineness, and authenticity. A golden retriever, basically. That's literally what I think of whenever I see person-centered. It's just
but it's also
being friendly
saying
and
it's about
kind
the
and being
person.
there.
It's also, it was that shift, one of the shifts from psychoanalytic where the therapist is the expert who's removed from life. And, the person's lying on the sofa.
Analyzing
in a
your
vulnerable
dreams.
position at dream analysis. and the therapist is, as I said, the expert, the client, the poor sap who just can't get life together. And so there was a shift to more person-centered that no, people are capable of healing themselves. They know, as you said before, Talia, they're able to know what they need to do. They just sometimes need somebody to come alongside to help them get there.
Yeah.
So we're person-centered.
Yeah.
We're about.
Yeah.
Another favorite is creative art therapy and experiential therapies.
I love experiential. I'm not an
So
artist.
fun.
You're good at the art,
Yeah, it's so fun.
but I'm really good at acting out what's going on.
Psychodrama.
Empty chair, gestalt. Tell your mom what you really need to tell her. And then now switch places. And now what would your mom say back to you?
Now, is this like on What About Bob where he has the little hand?
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
It can be for sure. Yeah.
It's powerful as I'm
so
moving through,
powerful.
as I sit in the spot of, okay, now I'm the husband telling the wife, who's me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can really be powerful.
Yeah. Well, I think one of a super powerful moment for me, I can't go into it fully, it's just too long, but it was probably like narrative therapy but just in a friendship where I'm talking about a situation I'm having, and I'm like pretty down on myself because I'm just feeling like a loser in this moment because of X, Y, and Z. And he's like, well, I guess that's true. Like, this did happen, and you did this, and this resulted. But instead of canceling that out and saying that's not true, this is true, it was a yes and.
Oh, yes,
it was like,
and
that's true, and this is true, and they're together at the same time.
Exactly.
And it just was like, oh my gosh, like I've only been focusing on this one part of the story and forgetting to give myself the credit of like, I did all of this to
Yes.
as well, and I am awesome. Like, why am I kicking myself so much? So,
and that's CBT right there. And it's also dialectical behavioral therapy. Oh man, if I do anything a lot, it's that. It seems like it's that and that, holding those two truths together at one time, because it so often is necessary. Yeah.
Yeah, that was another one she said. She just said DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy.
Which many of us are not fully trained in to coach, but we know
Yeah.
the treatment.
The pillars.
yeah.
That's what they call them.
And we use a lot of the different techniques, one of which is holding together two polarities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Well, also, there's two more on the list, which I think they're worth touching on. So, family systems therapy, which is roles, dynamics, integrational patterns, says it's helpful for marriage, parenting, workplace dynamics. Can you touch on that?
So we kind of talked about it already. A genogram is from that modality. And so we're looking at patterns of behavior. We're looking at relationships that are close, that are too close, enmeshed, and that are cut off and distant. And we oftentimes will recreate those patterns over here to try to have a restorative experience with what didn't get fixed or addressed or healed prior. So many of us, again, I don't want to speak for all clinicians, but many of us do therapy with a covering around our therapy of systems.
Yeah.
Because a family system,
Social.
everybody relates and interacts in relationship to one another. And so you can't really do therapy when it's not systemic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, last one on the list here is attachment-based therapy.
Never heard of it. Just kidding.
What's attachment?
Well, that is my question, because everything that you read, anything you Google, I mean, attachment is such a big word. At least right now, it feels like a buzzword. Where like
it is a
we're
buzzword.
Made for attachment.
Yeah.
In therapy, you're supposed to attach, even with your therapist. Attachment is, and so in my little brain, I'm thinking like, okay, there's these attachment styles when you're a kid, and how that works with your family system even.
Yeah.
And then that affects how you relate to people and circumstances. I don't but the way it's talked about is like that the whole point of life is to attach or something like that.
I really feel like this is a topic that needs its own chunk of time, because this is a really important one. It is kind of a buzz one these days. It's been around for a long time, but we're talking about it more. So I don't know if you want just in a nutshell, or you want to hold this for another.
No, we should save it for another one.
Yeah,
because
it's
a
big
deal.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's another one that goes along with family systems that you'll probably hear, and it's called internal family systems. But this is actually more trauma related than the typical family system. So if you do hear that as a person going into therapy, and your therapist says, we're going to do internal family systems, it is different
than family systems. Yeah, it's looking at how I exile parts off of myself, and then I protect those parts. I don't want to deal with that by managing. And you're kind of talking about that before, John, when you said about, I'm going to control this. This person can't relate to me. I've already controlling that to manage that exile part, which is the hurt child.
Yeah.
Okay, so to kind of wrap up, there's different styles of therapy. Everyone's different. So there's different therapists. And then there's different things you're trying to go to therapy for, whether it's a crisis or personal growth or relational issues.
Behavior modification,
There we go.
career exploration.
But at the end of the day, the studies suggest that the connection to the therapist, the right fit, does more than the style
Anything else.
itself.
Absolutely.
And two things I want you guys to speak to before we sign off here is what makes a good therapist, and like what would you stay away from? Because just like everyone else, there can be therapists that are probably maybe not. Are there any red flags of like, hey, this therapist, like if a plumber doesn't call me back and my he left a pipe running, it's a bad plumber, right?
Right.
And I shouldn't trust that plumber.
Right.
Is there anything like that people can, for anyone who's very on edge about this?
Well,
There's a lot of red flags.
Yeah. Well, I'd say first and foremost, if you don't feel like I am not connecting with this person, I don't think they're hearing me, find someone else. You're in charge. This is your money, your time, your need. So
Okay.
don't stick with something that doesn't feel comfortable for you. At the same time, give somebody a chance. I tell people, I don't tell them, they stay with me. They love me.
Use
but-
Google reviews.
but yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. The red
Sure.
flags would be if a therapist is talking about themselves, that's a no-go. This is not about the therapist. Now, we might self-disclose a little bit just for point of connection, but it's always about the client.
Yep.
I'm going to always filter through my mind, will this be helpful for them, or is it about me? If
Right.
it's about me, no bueno.
Yeah.
So a therapist, I think, that's inflexible, that can't really shift with you, that doesn't really understand, sometimes your schedule is complicated and you're going to be a little late. So if somebody's too harsh, kind of just, maybe that's not such a great fit.
Yeah.
Someone who has very limited experience and you have complex needs, I'd get to somebody who has a little bit more under their belt.
Are there ever stories of like compromised therapists?
Yes, I was
Oh,
going to
yeah.
say compromised therapists, like
Like
not
the husband
holding,
is paying
Yeah.
the therapist behind the back to side with him in the
The
counseling.
parent has an axe to grind and,
Yeah.
and is paying, and so
Yeah.
you're supposed to fix the child. And so, hey, listen, insurance can be an enemy too, right?
Yes, it can.
So, hey, listen, I tell
right.
insurance what they need to know, and then I do what I need to do.
And so for the people who maybe they got the courage to go to therapy and then they realize it is going to be work and they still want to go, but they're ashamed because they didn't do the homework.
Oh, good question.
What do you say to that person?
It's on their time.
It's still valuable
It's
to come.
still
Still valuable. I tell them,
Yeah.
come.
Yeah.
Hey, this is for you. Get to what you can, if you can. This is your baby,
Yeah.
not mine.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's a good place to stop. We could talk about this forever, and we'll probably dive deeper into a few of these styles later.
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
Yeah.
I think internal family systems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And attachments
All right.
for sure.
Well, thanks for joining us today, and we hope to see you next time. Please share this if it's helpful, like, comment. We really want to hear from you about what you want to hear from us. We want you to be a part of this. So please comment and let us know what you're thinking. And until next time, wow, I should redo that, should I?
That's all right.
No, all right. Until next, we're not perfect. I'm not perfect.
No.
All right. See you next time.
Bye.